I want you to get all the benefit out of the work that you're doing to develop your talent, and for not only you to benefit, but also for your organization and your communities that you're working in to benefit from that. So that's what's critical about key number 3, multiply the payoffs for yourself and others. I'm going to talk with you about how you can do that in very tangible, straightforward ways that will redound to your benefit and redound to the benefit of others. What's critical in this is thinking about how do you make your talent tangible. You know, it's one thing for us to develop knowledge and skills and things that we know how to do and have experiences, but it's another to make those really tangible in ways that are easily acknowledged and understood and appreciated by others, and can be used, in fact, by others in their work as well. So we're doing something for ourselves and we're also doing something for others. And that's, I think, the great opportunity in local government, is that, you know, you're not in competition with each other across local government agencies. You can really collaborate. You can share best practices. That's the whole theme of the ICMA coaching program, is how you can create value and share value with others. And that's what makes this an exciting profession, and one that I hope that you're really enjoying and taking advantage of from that viewpoint. So what are ways that you can make your talent tangible? In the participant guide, you'll see an exercise for you to write down what are the areas of knowledge and skill that you've developed, and then to prompt you to think about how can you make those tangible career assets that are useful for others in their work as well. So things that not only, you know, what you do, but how you can describe a process, a procedure, a set of information that you can document and offer to others. That enables you to be demonstrating that you have mastered the area, and also to make it available to others. And when you do that, you free up time and opportunity for yourself to be learning new things. And that's this talent wheel that you'll see described, which is how do we go from learning new things, sharing them with others, and opening up opportunities for ourselves to learn more. And that's what keeps your talent story rolling, is that growth, that opportunity, and that sharing that happens. And that's frankly what makes every hero's story exciting, is how they go through those cycles. And oftentimes a hero will go through multiple cycles, and that's what you'll be doing as well. So think about what it is that you know, what are the skills that you have, and how can you document and make those available to others. A simple example of that we had was somebody who had really developed her expertise in translating their enterprise resource management system, you know, what keeps track of all their assets and all the things that they have going on, and how to connect that over to their financial system. So she became a real guru expert of that. And it was kind of rewarding for her to be always recognized, you know, for that. People would pat her on the back saying, oh wow, you're so spectacular, only you really know how to do this. And in a way that kind of rewarded her ego, but it didn't enable her to move on to what she wanted to be doing, which was being involved in a broader set of responsibilities in the organization. So what did she do? She took advantage of this key and said, okay, how can I document the things that I know about moving from this resource management system over to the financial reporting system, put that up on the web, on the internal wiki, as they called it, in their organizations, so that people internally could see that. And then when people asked her about it, she could point them to that and they could learn themselves. And of course that meant that they were growing, but it meant that she was also opening up opportunities for herself to expand in her career. So it was a win-win. So that's why it's valuable for you, for yourself and for your organization, to be thinking about your knowledge and your skills as assets and how to make them available as assets are to be used readily by yourself and others. The key element within this whole process of multiplying the payoff for yourself and others is to think about how you're going to get those opportunities that you want. Might be opportunities to do more of a particular kind of work that you especially enjoy doing in the job that you have, or it might be an opportunity to have a new job or a new opportunity. And this is where thinking about yourself and using a very simple formula for how to get there is going to be critically valuable to you. It's a simple formula, and it's very powerful. So let me lay that out to you. And let's look at it in the participant guide. That formula is your brand, as we describe it, your promise that creates a preference for you, what's distinctive about you, why should people offer opportunities to you, your proof points of that brand, in other words, how have you concretely demonstrated your brand, your promise in action, and then the opportunities you'd like to enjoy. So what I find is an effective and quick way for people to get value out of this is to really start with the end of the equation. What are the opportunities you'd like to enjoy? And then to work back and say, okay, how am I going to have to present myself? How am I going to have to demonstrate my expertise in order to get there? When people have done this, they found over and over that they've gotten the opportunities they've wanted, or even better ones have shown up for them. Let me give you a couple illustrations. There's a police chief who wanted to be considered as a general manager and be involved in broader things than just police issues. But every time people looked at him, with his uniform on, or even when he didn't have it on, they saw him, oh, he's the police chief. That was narrowing his opportunities. He had a brand that was holding him back. So when I asked him, well, what do you want to have as the brand or the promise that creates a preference for you? He said, well, I really want to be known as a general manager problem solver, someone who can bring people together to solve really tough issues that benefit the organization and the community. Okay, well, that was his brand. But he needed to figure out the proof points if we're going to get him to those opportunities. It wasn't enough for him to just say, hey, that's who I am, pop out of the cake as if, a new day in his life, and here I am, people should turn to me. He had to demonstrate that in concrete and tangible ways. So what did he do? He volunteered to lead a task force across his organization to look at what are ways to improve the efficiency and the effectiveness of service delivery across the organization. Where does it make sense to retool how we do things in-house? Where does it make sense to consider outsourcing? Where can we augment the services that we provide with services from the nonprofit sector or volunteer groups? How can we make this equation work better for our community? And so he worked through that. He was very successful with his team in accomplishing that. And so he could point to that as a proof point of having gone beyond his current brand into the broader brand and promise that he wants to realize. Yet that wasn't quite enough. He needed to do something more to make that tangible to other people outside the organization. So he wrote an article for a journal on local government that was about, what are the key things to do to implement improvements in service delivery efficiency and effectiveness. And he came up with a top 10 list of the critical components of that and gave his real life examples with the documented results that showed the proof and the value that was delivered through that. So he created an asset here for himself. He could point to the article and having accomplished that, but he created something of value for the profession, something of use to others. And people could perceive him now more tangibly as the general manager, bringing people together to create great opportunities for others, and to do that effectively for the bottom line of efficiency and effectiveness in their local government agency. So everybody won in that process. He won, the organization, the community won, and the profession. So that's what I want for you. That's how you multiply the benefits of going through this talent development that we've been discussing and how this comes to fruition for you. Now, this whole idea of a brand is so powerful, and I found it so useful for so many people that I've gone beyond what's in the book and what's in the participant guide, and I'm providing to you again, free and easily accessible on the website, an exercise for you. Again, it's a great thing to do with a coach or with some colleagues or friends. How do other people perceive you? What are the opportunities to do this? You'll find as you articulate what you're looking for, other people who are generous listeners of you will be helpful in your efforts to articulate your brand in a crisp and clear and effective way. It's far more effective, I found, than just sitting down by yourself and saying, okay, I'm going to come up with something here. That's sort of like trying to come up with your own resume. Everything in your mind goes before you, all your experiences do, and they kind of get in your way. So that's an example of one of the ways in which you can use this equation to be effective. Let me just very briefly highlight another example highlighted in the book, somebody in local government who was an outstanding staff person. People loved her staff reports because she was very analytical, got everything nailed down, was highly effective, and she wanted to move on to opportunities that would be broader, opportunities for her to be in a leadership role. Now, she wanted the leadership role not because of some ego thing of trying to get to the top of the pile or to boost her salary or whatever. Those would be interesting and useful things, but she really had a deep desire to help other people grow in their careers and to be successful and to bring a team together to accomplish more than anybody could accomplish individually in their own efforts. So, but you can see she had a brand that was holding her back. Staff person, great reports. She wanted her brand to be leader who is effective in bringing forth the best in others to accomplish effective results. So she wanted to be shifting her brand. So that's her promise that creates a preference for her. But then what were her proof points? And how could she get to that supervisory leadership kind of role that she'd want? Because she was encountering before this effort all of these catch-22s, because she'd hit opportunities that were of interest to her, but they'd all say, well, you have to have some prior supervisory experience. Why does she get prior supervisory experience if she can't get the job? So here's what she did. She thought about this and she said, okay, I'm going to research what are the critical things that people need to do in becoming a first-line supervisor. And she discovered that one of the most important things is to figure out how to give candid, constructive performance feedback to people. That this is the big gap. And so she went about researching what's key in that from some of the courses that she was taking. She went to some of the people who were known in her organization as being the best in that. She did some mock interviews to give performance feedback with her HR director. She was starting to build her understandings of what these things were. And then she asked for opportunities when she was working on a project to give people who don't report to her, nonetheless, some candid and constructive performance feedback. And from all of this, she developed what are the key things that a first-time supervisor needs to do to give effective and constructive performance feedback? And who better to write that story, frankly, than somebody who's just stepping into that role and dealing with all the issues of, okay, how do I give candid, constructive performance feedback to some of the people who were previously, my buddies, peers? And that's one of the critical things for somebody to become a successful supervisor. So do you see how she worked through this equation? What opportunities did she want? How did she need to project her brand? How she needed to fill in the proof points that would get her there? And she was successful in getting that leadership role and moving on in her career. So there's a lot of payoff here for you, and something that you can get a tremendous amount of value from in moving your career forward successfully and in helping your organization and the community and the profession. Well, we've covered a lot in Take Charge of Your Talent, and I hope that you've taken advantage of the resources that we're making available through the ICMA coaching program here. I'm pleased to provide them to you, and frankly, I'm eager to hear about what your experiences and your results are. It's great feedback for me. It helps me understand what might be additional things that would be useful to you in the profession. When we close, I'd like you to take some time on the exercise towards the end of the participant guide that invites you to take a look again at those core questions we asked at the start. Well, where are you now in terms of the use of your talent? What's your level of satisfaction at this point? Have you been able to move from where you are to where you want to be? Are you making some progress? What is that progress like? How can you evaluate it? How can that progress that you're making motivate you to make more progress? So I encourage you to take the time to do that. When we've documented these results with people around the country, we've seen these significant boosts of 20+% on average of people in the use of their talent, similar increases in their levels of satisfaction. These are the payoffs for you and for others of taking charge of your talent, and I want you to enjoy them. Thanks for being with us on these videos, and thanks for participating in the ICMA coaching program.